Want to get your take on what you saw tonight, Monday Night Football. We'll do our one word. You give me one word to describe what you saw in this game. Very interesting as we wait for the Houston Texans to take the podium at AT&T Stadium. We'll hear from DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud. Sometimes we hear from another player. Maybe we'll hear from Joe Mixon at the podium. It just depends on how the Houston Texans play it after this one. But there are a lot of things that we talked about prior to this game that came true. On KHOU 11 News at 6 and last night on KHOU 11 Sports Extra, we talked about how this was going to be the Joe Mixon game. And yes, it was the Joe Mixon game. Not a surprise given how badly the Dallas Cowboys run defense is. Joe Mixon, looking at the stats, 20 carries, 109 yards, and of course those 3 touchdowns. Also had a long run of 45 yards, which was his first touchdown. And then we also talked about Nico Collins, his return from his hamstring injury, missed 5 games, and his presence was immediately felt with that long touchdown pass play, which was unfortunately called back on the penalty on Laramie Tunsil. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, that's where I'm at taking your comments. So if you want to leave a comment, let me know what you think. Go to our KHOU 11 Facebook page. I'm going to hit that up right here so we can talk about this game. Leah, can you get that up for me? I don't see it on there. But another thing that we talked about was we felt good about the defense. Former Texan Seth Payne from Sports Radio 610, who joins us Sunday nights, he said, yeah, I feel good about the defense. And I think you had to feel good about the defense because you were playing a Dallas Cowboys team that was playing with a backup quarterback in Cooper Rush. So Cooper Rush, give him credit though. This guy passed the rock 55 times and completed 32 of them for 354 yards, the 1 touchdown, the 1 interception, and he was sacked 5 times. He also had that fumble, which of course Derek Barnett returned for the touchdown. But all in all, I don't know if you would classify this as an ugly win by the Houston Texans. I think I might, because once again, the Texans continue this streak of CJ Stroud not having a passing touchdown in the second half of a football game. The streak is alive. Now, the Texans did stop their streak of not scoring a touchdown in the second half of football games. But again, would you call this game an ugly win? Also looking at the stats in this game, I thought third downs would be an integral part of the story. Third downs in this football game, Texans were 4 of 12, Dallas was 5 of 15. You look at the score, third down really didn't matter. Rushing first downs, good to see. Texans had 6, Cowboys 3. Penalties continue to be an issue. 9 penalties by the Texans. Does this game ease your anxiety about what the Houston Texans on offense are, what they can become, how they will look against the upper echelon of the AFC, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills later, perhaps in the playoffs? Let me know. Looking at some of the comments from our KHOU 11 Facebook page, the story that we posted about the Texans winning. With the Cowboys missing half their team, it feels like we just beat Mike Tyson. You know what? I don't think that's far from the truth. I'm from Houston, not impressed. Dak didn't play. We can't beat any real teams. Just saying. That was from Antonio. Deborah says, love my Texans. Edward says, Cowboys, get out of here. Amy says, was it me or did Texans fans dominate that stadium? There was talk that there were going to be a lot of Texans fans traveling, even on a Monday night. It's one thing to travel on a Sunday, but on a Monday night, yeah, it was pretty impressive. It was pretty impressive, all of the Houston fans from what we could see on television. Sonia says, got beat down in their own house. That continues to be a trend, unfortunately, for the Cowboys. It's pretty significant that the Cowboys are now 0-5 at AT&T Stadium. And, of course, now 3-7 on the season overall. Alex says that's how you play football. I would imagine talking about the Texans. I'm still not entirely sold on this offense. The line play continues to be an issue. We mentioned on KHOU 11's Sports Extra on Sunday night, at least I mentioned this. I think CJ likes his offensive line. I think he feels that they're good players. I just don't think he trusts this offensive line. When you look at CJ's stats, the most important stat is the W. But Stroud, 23 of 34, 257, no touchdowns and 1 INT. Officially, he was sacked just once for 7 yards, but there was a lot of pressure, again, a lot of pressure. Some more comments. Cowboys missing half their team. Texans mopped the floor with the Cowboys. They did. But I think it was to be expected. In fact, we also mentioned prior to this game, the Texans, if they don't win by double digits, that's a problem. That's a problem. I'm going to head over to YouTube here as we await the Texans post-game news conference here on our various KHOU 11 Plus platforms. DeMeco Ryans, we're expected to hear from, as well as CJ Stroud. Once again, the Texans winners 34-10. Houston with 14 points in the first quarter. Second quarter, 3 points, 3 points in the third, and then they put up 2 more touchdowns, or excuse me, I should say 14 points in that fourth quarter. All right, so I'm on the KHOU 11 Facebook page, or excuse me, YouTube page now. I don't see our video on the Facebook page, so all right, so let's see. If you guys want to drop your comments, give me one word to describe this win. The word I have is needed. I think this was a needed win, given how this team has performed up to this point. And how this offense has performed up until this point. Joe Mixon fed him the rock early and often, and he performed. Again, 20 carries, 109 yards, an average of 5.5 yards per carry. Nico Collins ends up with 4 catches for 54 yards. And now let's listen to DeMeco Ryans as he approaches the podium there at AT&T Stadium after the win.
Really just thankful for this opportunity for all our guys, the way we stepped up and bounced back stronger tonight. So I was really proud of the way we stepped up and just thankful for this opportunity, on this stage. Man, we're blessed to get to do what we do, and our guys, we're very thankful for this moment, thankful for this opportunity to play on Monday Night Football. It's a big deal for us. A lot of young guys who haven't played here before, so I'm really proud of the way our guys competed and finished today.
Mixon, 3 touchdown runs, and it's the first offensive touchdown since Damian Pierce had one against the Patriots. Your thoughts on the way he took control?
The run game starts with our offensive line. I asked them to challenge them to play fast, play aggressive. Thought they did a really nice job. And Joe, when he's on, he's a force for us. Over 100 yards, 3 touchdowns. Just really like the way we just kept turning it in the run game, and proud of the guys for stepping up to the challenge.
Can you talk about the defense, just the takeaways and just the pressure you guys had all night?
The defense played with the elite energy, and we executed really well. All for like one big play that we gave up. We'd like to have that one back, but overall, I think our guys played really well to attack the football the way we attacked the football. D-line really picked up the pressure in the second half. Derek Barnett, the play he made, really changed the game for us, right? It flipped the momentum. It got everybody juiced up on the sideline. It was just a huge play. Him get the strip sack, and for Petrie to come up and force the ball out, like when something we talk about and we harp on is attacking the football, and we talked about this week not just attacking it, going to score. So that was a huge play for us defensively, and I thought the D-line really played well in the second half, and Stingley did a really great job in coverage all game. For him to get the pick, that was big time for us as well.
DeMeco getting DeMeco back and the impact in the end zone, but just the impact he had back on this offense. What did you see?
Right, everyone instantly sees the impact of Nico. Our first offensive play goes for a touchdown. All right, gets called back, but you see his impact instantly. Like, he's a game changer, and we're so thankful and happy to have him back and see what he provides to our entire team.
The second half struggles are no secret. We talk about it every week. To get that touchdown in the second half with Joe, did it mean a little bit more? What did that mean for you guys just to get over that?
For the second half, it meant it wasn't just our offense. I think a lot of the stories being about our offense is, I look at it defensively like we haven't finished in the second half, right? And for our team to go out and really play a complete second half, right, to shut them out in the second half, that was more of a bigger deal to me than us scoring a touchdown, right? It's just about us coming out playing with the right energy, executing and finishing the proper way. That's what finish looked like, right? And if we want to continue to progress, move forward, play good football, we have to finish second halves. It always comes down to how you finish in the second half, and if this is how it looks, like, I'm excited for where we're going.
Coach, how good was it? Coach, how good was it to just go back in that locker room with that winning feeling, especially after what happened last week against the Lions, but just walking there with that energy from this victory?
And it's an awesome feeling, right? It's hard to win in this league, no matter who you're playing. It's hard to win, right? And it was a great feeling coming in, knowing we had it out there, and just seeing our guys, seeing a different bounce in their step, seeing a different look in their eye all week. Like, I just want our guys to remain focused, remain locked in, and locked in on the task at hand each and every week. And if we do that, we're a really good football team, right? And that's something we knew last week. We're a good football team. We can play with anybody. It's just about finishing.
Not for you to get a letter from the league, but that first play with Nico and they called Laramie downfield, that to me was sort of like in that there's a gray area. There's about a yard difference. Laramie like he was in that gray area. Can you comment on that or not? Or you rather not?
I'll let you call it in for me. All right. Nah. Yeah, you take the fine.
To come out, have that score, have a callback, and to stick with it and still be able to score. How important was that to still get in the end zone?
Well, I really love that first play because it showed what we could do in this game. So even though it got called back, I just told all our guys, hey, we can go score on these guys again. Just get it in your mind, we're going to score again. Like, we can move the football on people when we execute the right way. So I love that first play. I hated that it got called back, but I was excited just to see us make that big play that we've been looking for.
From Jalen Petrie, the kind of impact he makes as a hitter, what does that do for you as an entire team, not just the defense?
Yeah, Jalen is a physical player. Really, he played physical all night, played really well in coverage, and very active. He's been playing really good football for us. Instinctive player. That's him down in the box, making a lot of plays, being active. Really love what he provides to our team.
You talked in the week about how important it was for Houston fans for this particular game. Can you talk about how they showed up here in the city?
It was awesome seeing all our Texans fans show up. Right, that was really cool to see on the road, to see all the Texans jerseys, see how fired up our fans were, created some crowd noise. Man, that's cool. Anytime you can come in in a away stadium and really feel your fans, hear your fans, all right, being loud, being disruptive, that was really cool for our guys.
Something you could put your finger on for the defense, especially the defensive line? Didn't get any hits in the first half, but then obviously they finished strong. Is there one particular thing you could put on that maybe changed from the first half to the second half?
No, we just made some few adjustments there with the D line and D Hunter. You cut it loose in the second half, and did a really good job. Thought our guys did a better job of just executing, right, the stunts and everything that we were asking them to do. Switched up a few things, but they executed it really well.
Got time for two more. What was the plan with Nico, and was it more so getting him back into game shape, or was it just didn't want to rush him back all the way right away first game back?
We were excited to get Nico back. Really loved the plan that he had, and he showed up and made an impact play for us, the first play of the game, right? And so I'm happy to have him back. I thought our guys did a good job of, managing him, giving him the proper snaps that he needed, and we know it's his first week back. He's not going to have a full workload on his first week back.
DeMeco, you stress physicality, and Jalen tonight obviously to me was a clean football hit. But for some reason,
Thank you. Need to come and see. I wish I could say what you're saying.
I'm just, what they call, what they at the beginning of the year, shoulder, everything. Right. The receiver made 2 steps, and all of a sudden, you got more laundry on the field, and you got it in the laundromat.
What he said. No, Jalen played physical, man. That's what we pride ourselves on defensively, playing physical. Jalen exhibited that. We had a lot of guys playing physical out there today.
We'll close with DJ DeMeco.
What allowed Stingley to have so much success while guarding the team?
What allows Sting to have success is just him being locked in on his technique, not making it bigger than it is, and just going out and executing, right? He understood the challenge for their best player, and he stepped up to the challenge, and he made, plays all night. So very proud of Sting for how he's continuing to grow as a professional, having a really great year for us. So I'm really proud of Sting.
Can you talk about the play that you made on special teams on that fake punt and how important that was?
Another physical play on special teams, right, with Mechie coming up, making a huge hit. It was a really cool moment for that play because we had a little highlight this week in our meetings where we showed the play from Mechie, Alabama, and Florida when he made the big hit. So we talked about just playing with physicality tonight, and Mechie showed up and made almost the exact same play. But it was a huge play for him, having the awareness. We know these guys are, really good on special teams, and they have a lot of gimmicks and things on special teams. And Mechie, he played with elite awareness, and he was able to read the play, diagnose it, and make a big-time game-changer play for us.
Because just given how you all played in the second half, especially on defense, but what do you hope this kind of can do for you all as you all go into late in November and then early in December?
Playing the way we played in the second half is just for our entire team to understand if we finished the way we finished in the second half, hold the team out of the end zone, and we're able to put more points on the board, like we can play with anybody. So it's just a matter of continuing to press forward and continue to just execute and don't make it bigger than what it is. Everybody doing their job on their details, we're a good football team.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you, guys.
And that was head coach DeMeco Ryans from the press room at AT&T Stadium following the Texans' 34-10 win over the Dallas Cowboys. We now await CJ Stroud's arrival into that room as he will discuss what he saw from his perspective in the win. CJ 23 of 34 for 257 yards and 1 interception. We're also taking your one word to describe what you saw from this game. A few things before we get to that I thought were interesting. What DeMeco Ryans had to say. DeMeco saying he wanted to see his team play fast, play aggressive. Nico Collins is a game changer. I think that goes without saying. We saw that on the first play that obviously was called back, the touchdown play from that first series. Interesting he mentioned about defense, and the defense hasn't finished. I think that's interesting because from my perspective, when the offense is not performing, that puts extra stress on a defense. And the defense has really been fairly consistent, I would say, this season with a couple of blips here and there. So I find it interesting that DeMeco would say that the defense hasn't finished, and that's what he liked about this game was the defense finished. Talked about how that play to Nico, he loved that first play. It showed what we could do in this game, and I think that in some ways that's a small taste of what the Texans have put on a plate for us this season, is that a lot of times it's what this team could do. And DeMeco then added, when we execute the right way. How many times this season have we seen flashes, but that's it, flashes. And sometimes it's called back due to a penalty. It's all about execution, and consistently this offense has issues executing. Whether that starts up front, whether it starts with the play calling, whether it's a combination of the two, I think that is basically the title of this book on the 2024 Houston Texans. Not just a chapter, but the title of this book. We'll see if this game is now the springboard that turns things around offensively for the Texans. All right, we got some words here. Let's see. Awesome is a word. That is from Dorian. Got another awesome, beautiful, outstanding. Adam mentioned play calling, which I think he was mentioning or responding to what I was talking about when it comes to the issues on offense. Someone had a really good word. Sunny. And hopefully I can spell this right here. Fan-freaking-tastic. So I said needed. We have a couple of awesomes, outstanding, fan-freaking-tastic. I think any time that the Texans beat the Cowboys, because as we all know, these two teams do not face each other very often. This was just the 7th meeting all time. Prior to this game, Dallas held the series lead 4-2. It is now 4-3 in favor of the Cowboys. Let's see, any other words? Victory, finally. That's a good one, finally. It was also a nice comment there from DeMeco about John Mechie. John Mechie, as we know, his backstory, battling cancer, coming back last game, at least in the stat sheet, putting a big game statistically together, really his first big one in the NFL with a touchdown, and then making a very key play on special teams. This is what you always have to prepare for in the NFL, is the unexpected, because typically games come down to a handful of plays, and say the Cowboys convert that first down. Say they convert that 4th down try to get to first down. Maybe things look different in that first half. We don't know, but certainly a special teams coach, a head coach, when you make a heads-up play like that, especially when it's not your natural position, I mean, the guy's a receiver, right? That's the type of stuff that coaches just grin ear to ear. What other words do we have here? Let's see here. What other words are we getting from you guys? As we await C.J. Stroud at the podium. Now my feed's not working very well. Let's see if I can get this working again.
Job well done.
Job well done.
Exciting.
Exciting, thank you. Patricia says CeeDee Lamb would be another good player as a Texans player. CeeDee Lamb, obviously a Houston area product. He'd be good on a lot of teams. Of course, he has a massive, massive contract now. Let's see. I'm on the wrong page there. Teamwork. Offensive and defensive, yes. Victory. What else did DeMeco have to mention? This was also interesting. I think DeMeco Ryans, and this goes back to the potential of this team. When the Texans are playing, quote, good football, we can play with anybody. That was the feeling all of us had prior to this season, right? That's why so many people were picking a deep playoff run for these Texans. But for a number of different reasons, that has not happened. Granted, 7-4, there's a lot of teams in the NFL that would take 7-4 right now. And when you consider the division this team plays in, they're in the driver's seat. They will get into the tournament, as players and coaches like to call it. And this stretch of games, it's looking pretty good for the Texans because now, after this one, playing a Dallas team, which isn't very good, up next, you have a Titans team that isn't very good. And following that is a Jaguars team that's not very good. Then you play the Dolphins before you run that really tough 2-game stretch, not just because of the opponents, but also that you have 2 games in a matter of 4 or 5 days, that being the Chiefs on the 21st and then Christmas Day against the Baltimore Ravens, and of course you end the season against the Titans on January 5th. Texans never trailed in this game, and the Cowboys have now dropped 5 in a row. 34-10 is your final. We've heard from DeMeco Ryans. We're awaiting C.J. Stroud and his appearance at the podium. Texans stopping their 2-game losing streak. Yeah. It mentions here in the AP copy that in a season filled with things gone wrong for the Cowboys, debris fell from the stadium's retractable roof as it was opening a few hours before the game. Yeah, this organization's in pieces right now. And the money that Jerry Jones has dished out to some key guys, man. Woo, but give Cooper Rush a lot of credit. I mentioned this earlier when we first came on the air. That guy, he kept playing and he kept making plays. Now, granted, I know the strip sack, but the pocket was collapsing and then the touchdown. But he did a pretty decent job. And I can think of a lot of quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks, who are worse than Cooper Rush. Let's see. Patricia says, Tunsil, however you spell his name, y'all need to stop getting him these penalties. Yeah, that has been an issue. He's cleaned it up as of late. And when I say cleaned it up, based on what we saw earlier in the season, but certainly execution is a big part of the Texans' issues on offense. And penalties, that's part of executing or not executing. Let's see. What else do we have here? Jeff says, great coach. I assume he's talking about DeMeco Ryans. Michael says, swarm. And yeah, that's what this Texans defense did, swarm. That is the rallying cry. You see it around the building, swarm. And when you look at the stats here, let's look at these Cowboys offensive stats. That's what this Texans defense did. They pitched a shutout. They pitched a shutout in the second half. Anytime in the NFL you can hold a team to 17 to 20 points or less, that's a win for the defense in today's NFL. Usually most teams in their meeting rooms, that is one of the goals you will see on the board. Either holding a team to under 17 or fewer points, or 20 or fewer points. Let's see. Total yards. Dallas had 388 yards. A lot of it was in garbage time. That's going to happen. Cooper Rush had 324 yards passing. But again, running the football. Texans holding the Cowboys to 64 yards rushing, 3.6 yards per attempt, and 0 for 1 the Cowboys were in the red zone. Again, penalties a problem. Penalties have been a problem for the Texans. Penalties were a problem in this game, 9 of them for 69 yards. As again, we are waiting to hear from C.J. Stroud after this Texans win 34-10. So let's do this. Has this game eased any of your concerns about the offense? What do you guys think? What you saw today, do you feel better moving forward that this offense is starting to turn the corner or a corner, given that they finally scored a touchdown in the second half? Finally? It's been a while. It's been a while. And CJ still hasn't thrown a touchdown in the second half of a football game since, I think it's been about a month now, which is, when you consider CJ Stroud, this magical quarterback that Houston is lucky to have now. And he hasn't thrown a passing touchdown in the second half of a game is pretty remarkable. It is pretty remarkable when you look at the big picture. Let's see here. Newest comments. But again, Gilbert says the Texans looked more balanced. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I would agree with that. When you look at the box score, and I think that that's what Bobby Slowick really strives for, is balance. I think most teams in the NFL look for balance. Look at the targets. Nico Collins, 7 targets. Tank Dell, 7 targets. Joe Mixon, 4 targets. Mechie, 3 targets. Dalton Schultz, 7 targets. Cade Stover, 2 targets. Robert Woods, 2 targets. Daria Gumbawale, 1 target. And then Joe Mixon carried the rock 20 times and ran for an average 5.5 yards a clip. Yeah? Yeah? Daniel says, looking at my Texans from Minnesota. Thank you for watching. We appreciate that. Teamwork is the dream work. Here y'all go, haters. How about our real Texans team? But again, Gilbert, I think that that's a very interesting observation, that this offense did look balanced. And I think that that's a good word, balanced. Now, execution, I still don't think they're there yet. And at this point, if you put the Texans on the same field with the Steelers, with the Bills at this point, with the Chiefs, with the Ravens, with the Chargers, I don't know. I don't know if this offense can perform. I don't know. It's a great question. It's something that we will soon find out in about a month and a half. I don't know if the Texans offense is even as good as the Bengals offense after seeing Joe Burrow and the receivers that Cincinnati has. We were talking about that last night in the office, watching the Bengals and Chargers on Sunday Night Football. But when you look at overall the AFC, Bills are 9-2. Let me get this here. Bills are 9-2. Chiefs are 9-1. Chargers are 7-3. Steelers are 8-2. Ravens are 7-4. And then you've got this dumpster fire in the AFC South. But, I mentioned how, the schedule seems to be favorable. Well, the Texans have shown that playing bad teams isn't always a gimme, i.e. the New York Jets losing to New York in New Jersey. Let's see. What else do we have here? Man, I get these questions. Superb from Becky. Solid. Go Texans. Gerardo says, go Texans from Bay City, Texas. Curtis says, I can't read what Curtis says there. Phenomenal? Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you. Once again, Jason Bristol here in the KHOU 11 News Studios as we are waiting. CJ Stroud at the podium as CJ will discuss from his perspective what he saw from this 34-10 win over the Dallas Cowboys. You Cowboys fans, if you're watching, what do you have to say at this point? Woo! This season started with a lot of promise with Dak, big contract for CeeDee Lamb, one of the best, if not the best receiver in football. And it has gone south quickly. In fact, I'm surprised Mike McCarthy is still leading this team. I'm really surprised that Mike McCarthy is still leading this group. Looking ahead, the Texans will be facing the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are a mess, 2-8. Scoring 170 points this season while allowing 263. Oh, speaking of that, here's also something now significant about the Texans. They have now scored more points than they've allowed. We haven't seen that. The season totals, we haven't seen that this season. Now, the Texans have scored more than they've allowed. In fact, when you look at the past Super Bowl winners, there was a streak where most Super Bowl winners scored 100 points or more than what they allowed. And right now, the Texans, they are plus 22 on the season. Plus 22. I mean, the Steelers are plus 70. The Chiefs are plus 50. The Chargers are plus 80. The Bills are plus 110. And when you look at those numbers, I think that goes back to this idea of the Texans winning ugly. And DeMeco earlier in the season says, hey, you know, I'll take ugly wins. I'm paraphrasing. Ugly's fine to me because a win's a win. But in the grand scheme of things, ugly eventually can become problematic. And we've seen that with this Texans team. Once again, to recap some of the items which DeMeco Ryans hit on in his news conference, he liked how the Texans played fast, they played aggressive. He noted that Nico Collins, they certainly weren't going to overextend him in his first game back from his hamstring injury, but that first series showed why he is a game changer for this team. Nico Collins ending up with 4 or 5 catches for 54 yards. Let me get the official stats. Nico was 4 catches for 54 yards. DeMeco also mentioning how defense, we haven't finished. And we did finish in this game, as it was pointed out that the Texans held the Cowboys scoreless in the second half. Now CJ Stroud approaching the podium with a smile. Let's listen in.
What kind of a tone is Joe Mixon setting from the very first snap and then closing it out? He talked about the physical play of the offensive line and kind of way that shaped this game.
Yeah, first, I just want to thank Jesus Christ himself. I'm just in awe of just who he is and, how he takes the unqualified and makes them qualified to play in A&T Stadium on Monday night. I'm just super blessed to, be able to have these opportunities. I feel like I don't deserve it, but he continues to bless me. I just want to give him thanks because, man, he saved my life. And, I just really am in loss of words of just who he is and, the love that he gives you. He's a father, he's a friend, and he's just a comforter. The Holy Spirit has been comforting me
And, you know, I'm just blessed enough to, you know, be his son. But, you know, Joe has been amazing. He's been somebody who came in and taught guys how to win more, you know, because we won some games last year, but, you know, he taught guys what it takes to get to that bowl, you know, and, you know, we're not there yet, but, you know, we're taking strides, and every team goes through adversity throughout the year, you know, so my message to the team and his as well has been, we hit our adversity, let's not look back and let's just march forward and, you know, put our best foot forward, and, you know, we know we can play with everybody, but now we got to play 4 quarters, and once we do that, you know, we'll be able to be a hard team to stop.
You all in the second half of this week versus previous weeks, what do you feel like you all were able to change and get better at?
We just played 4 quarters. We didn't really change nothing, didn't change no philosophy, just came out here to play 4-quarter football, you know. So we look back at some other games, if we did that, you know, we would have came up on top, but, you know, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Now we got to learn from those things. That's a good lesson to learn, you know, being where we're at, you know, our future's in front of us, and, you know, we want to put ourselves in the right position, you know, playing good ball in December, you know, going to January and then into the playoffs.
CJ, can you talk about the first drive, that opening pass to DeMeco? It was called back, but then you guys still were able to get in the end zone. How important that was?
It's huge. You know, it's a lot of times those are drive killers, you know, and you can put your head down, but, you know, we've been through enough this year to learn, like, we can overcome anything if we trust one another. So, you know, we come back and, you know, we run a good run play, and the next play, you know, I think I hit Dalton on the 3rd down, and then, you know, you hit Metch, and now we're rolling. We're getting in rhythm. You know, we're playing fast on the ball, you know, and our turbo, you know, was hard for them to deal with. So when you're operating like that, you know, it's hard to be beat, you know. So, and the good thing is, you know, we started strong, we finished strong, and that was the message we really wanted this week.
CJ, I would just assess the O-line, the job they did in general tonight.
They did amazing. They always do amazing. You know, I've been better with getting the ball out on time, and, you know, I believe that helps those guys out, you know, and Slow's done a good job of mixing it up, you know, got some more quick game in there, got some times where, you know, we're helping their star rusher, or, you know, and I thought Titus played amazing. You know, Titus was in there battling. Him and Micah were going head-to-head pretty much the whole game, and, you know, Titus did amazing, and, you know, thought LT played well, you know, J-Pat, Juice, Shaq, you know, them boys, they're the heartbeat of our team. O-line and D-line are the reason why we win and lose. Excuse me, not why we lose. They're the reason why we win. Take that off the record. Slip up. They are the reason why we win. But yeah, I mean, it's up to us to play complimentary football. And, you know, a lot of times they get the blame, but it's not for them to blame. It's myself, you know, sometimes, you know, not getting the ball out on time, and just mis-IDing or things like that. So, you know, when those guys are humming and, you know, we're playing on time, doing what we're asked to do as a philosophy, you know, then it's hard to be beat.
CJ, as a leader of this team, how were you able to get the guys together and flush out that, you know, what happened in the Lions game this week of practice, have a good week of practice, and come in here and be able to put on this performance that you all did tonight?
Yeah, it's something, you know, for me, I've learned a lot through this game, you know, and I look at life. You know, life isn't something where you put your head down and, you know, and for me, you know, I try to, you know, pray about it and get discernment from the Lord, and, you know, it's not as bad as it ever seems, and it's never as good as it ever seems. You know, there's always things to fix. There are always things to get better, you know, but, you know, those type of games, you have to come out with a win, especially going up like that at half. You have to come out with a dub. So, but what are we going to do about it? Cry and be like, oh, we should have got this, we should have got that call, we should have made this play, we should have made that play, we shouldn't have did this. That's every game, you know, but it's all about if you got the dub or not. So, you know, you learn from it, you move on, and, you know, my message is just, man, let's stay tight. You know, we have enough people talking about us, and at the end of the day, it's the world we live in. You know, everybody is, you know, that saying, the person who talks about the other person, but with the plank in their eye, but they have like a wood chip or whatever. You know, I forgot exactly how it goes, but that's the world we live in. You know, it's easy to, you know, to be the guy critiquing, but, you know, we're the men in the arena. You know, everybody's entitled to their opinion at the same time. You know, I'm able to kind of like get away from it, but, you know, it's all about building up, not breaking down, and, you know, bending, not breaking, and, you know, building our house on solid rock, and we've been able to do that.
How good was it? How good was it for Coach Ryan's to be aggressive tonight, keep you all on the field on the 4th down in those red zones?
I think it's great. You know, for me, you know, I got to make a better play. But I think, it shows, that he still, trusts in me in the offense. And, I take us over them 100 times, regardless how it goes. So, I appreciate it because, I do feel like I can make those plays and, I just need more ops at them. And the more I get used to, being in those positions, I can be better. So I appreciate it, and I just want more of those.
CJ, can you talk about this week you said you wanted to, have fun again, get back to doing what you do. And Coach Ryan said, I just want you to cut loose.
Yeah.
Is that what we saw tonight?
For sure. Yeah, I've been having more fun for sure, and learning, that this game ultimately isn't everything. It's important, and I'm extremely blessed. I'm blessed and highly favored from Jesus Christ Himself to be able to play this game. Because I'm telling you, I'm not qualified, but Jesus, He calls the unqualified to be qualified. So, I've been able to, to learn not only from the game of football, from just X and O's, but just life. You get knocked down 7 times, a righteous man gets up 8. So, I've been able to kind of live that lifestyle a little bit more, on and off the field, and, been blessed to do that.
CJ, what was it like getting DeMeco back on the field tonight? How do you think he helps, help the offense tonight?
Yeah, play one, get the ball in his hands, and he makes special things happen. And, he continues to just show up and show out. His attitude while he was hurt was amazing. He wasn't butthurt. He wasn't like looking down. Of course, he was upset that he was hurt and wasn't playing, but he was still around the guys and still showing love. And that's something also Steph has been able to do too, like texting a lot of guys on the team. Steph is, called me a lot. He's been a big brother to me. I can lean on him. So I'm just, really just thankful for the brothers that I have, and been able to, lean on them, in hard times.
Last 3 right here, Greg, Jonathan, TJ.
Other side of the ball, what'd you think about the play Derek Barnett made, man? What kind of juice has he got?
He scared me. I don't know why he did that with the ball. Like, he could have just ran in, but man, DB's a dog, bro. Like when we got him last year, he showed his worth, and now he's just putting more on. There's a lot of plays that guys don't see, but he's taking on those pulling guards and sending them back, making plays for his backers to be free. I thought Mario played well, Daniil, DeMeco, like that whole D-line, bro. But DB got some wheels though. I respect it for sure.
Bobby mentioned Thursday that he felt like the offense had reached kind of like a mental hurdle when it came to the second half. Do you feel like y'all were able to kind of clear that today?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I believe, every game is an opportunity to go out and fix problems. So that was a problem that we had. We got to score more touchdowns, and honestly, we could have been better today in the red zone. So there's always something you can correct and fix. So I'm excited, and blessed to be able to go back to work and be healthy and be able to go back and fix those problems and play the Titans this week.
Close with DJ there. After the Jets game, I remember you saying that you guys need to start playing dominating football. Today, you guys were able to win by your largest margin of victory. How good does it feel to get one of those blowout wins where you guys are able to dominate from start to finish?
Excuse me. Yeah, it's huge, and for me, I don't ever look at it as like a blowout. I look at it as, did we execute one play at a time? And I feel like, to the best of our ability, for me, I missed a couple throws, threw an interception, but those happen, and I got to learn, and I'm learning. Like I told y'all during the week, I got to keep swinging, and I just appreciate, them to keep being aggressive, throwing the ball down the field, and I know who I am, and I know I can be a really special person and a special quarterback in this league, and especially with the guys I have around me. Nick has done a great job putting a great team around, Joe, me, Dog, the O-line, like making the individuals fit as one, and yeah, man. So it's been huge for that, and we're just continue to grow and lean on one another.
The offensive line said they challenged themselves to have a big week run blocking for Joe and also protecting you.
Yeah.
What do you think of the job the offensive line did?
Amazing. I was back there chilling a lot of times, and I told Titus had a big opportunity, to play well against Micah, and he was able to do a really good job. I thought we mixed up the protections a lot, pretty well, and there's always things to clean up, but it definitely took a step forward, and that's what we wanted. So, so it was definitely a step forward. All right, y'all. God bless.
And there was C.J. Stroud addressing reporters following the Texans' 34-10 win. Couple of things to break down here. C.J. mentioning that when this team plays 4 quarters, they can play with everybody or anybody. And that's something that DeMeco Ryans also mentioned. The play to Nico, where the penalty calls back the touchdown. We've been through that. We've been through it enough to know we can overcome stuff like that because items like that can be a drive killer. Also singled out Titus Howard for his work along the offensive line. Also mentioned about how CJ, he's continuing to evolve as an NFL quarterback. Sometimes he's mis-ID'd defenses, needs to be quicker, getting the ball out. But overall, the Texans seem very pleased, to say the least, after beating the Cowboys 34-10. There was one question at the end there about dominating. I don't know if the Texans did truly dominate this game. The first half, yes, the first quarter, but that second quarter, they allowed 10 points, and it's 17-10. It's a one-score game heading into halftime. So, all in all, the Texans will take this. Was it an ugly win? Another ugly win? That's for the Texans to decide. You to decide. But the Texans now, it's on to the next one, and the next one being the Tennessee Titans. So that's going to do it for us here in the KHOU 11 newsroom. I'm Jason Bristol. Once again, your final score, Houston 34, Dallas 10 on Monday Night Football as the Texans improve to 7-4. And thanks to all of you for chiming in tonight here from the KHOU 11 newsroom and our coverage of the postgame following this Monday night win.